Greetings, sir and sirettes, and welcome back to Terratech with me, Lathrix, and of course, welcome back to the R&D mode, in which I wasn't actually planning on making a Terratech video today. However, something has caught my eye. Now, I was here originally just to test out a few basic principles of the game before the next update hits, which adds new weapons and other stuff which I really want to cover. And I was just messing around trying to figure out how the hovers work when you're in the air, since there is also a glitch where if you use hovers and wheels in certain ways, it stops the vehicle from being counted as flying, which then swaps all the controls. Well, I found out something rather interesting. I feel like I haven't really made a drone to its fullest potential yet, and that's something I really want to do. Now, it's definitely something I've covered in the past, but I want to have another go at it. I want to try and make one which is just really easy to control. And this monstrosity, which I just threw together, actually fits that quite well. So what I'm thinking of doing is making a small drone for the campaign, just to do odd jobs when I need to do something quickly and accurately, but don't really want to mess around with fiddly controls. Something like this seems to work pretty well. Now, sadly, these two back hovers, these two 5-way steering hovers, are not really working as intended. That was the thing I wanted to test out originally. On the ground, they work properly. This one here fires to the left when I press left. This one fires to the right, causing the overall craft to spin left. If I go into the air and then air controls take over, yeah, they all bind to the same key, so now all of these are going right, all of these are going left, and the ones at the back are actually causing the craft to turn slower. But they are adding a lot of backwards and forwards propulsion, which makes the craft really easy to handle. Which normally is not something you have in Terratech when it comes to flyers. So we're going to go back to the regular campaign mode, and we're going to try to make something which looks a little bit prettier, and hopefully will fulfill this role, just a general purpose drone, because I want to make one. Onwards! Here we are, back in the world, and being defended by our lovely turrets. So, what are we going to do then with the drone? I think it would be best if we just use the regular cab, although I think the Venture one might be lighter. I might be wrong there, honestly, and it does look better. The lack of connection points makes this so difficult to build anything efficiently with. But I guess it could just go on the front like that. Let's build with this for now. And then if we can think of a way to use that cab, we will use that cab because it just looks better. Now, I do want to use the tech tracks. Now, these are pretty heavy for their size, but they are ridiculously easy to use, and you can't really hurt them by falling. Well, most wheels normally follow that rule, but even so, these things are very durable, and they can go up hills decently, and they can turn very quickly, which makes them really good for the job we're trying to do at the moment, which is just a really reliable, really simple drone. There we are. And it can be kind of all-terrain as well if we do this correctly, which would be pretty darn helpful. Now, we definitely need at least one stabilizer. These are actually quite expensive in the real game, so I won't be using too many of them. Come on, twist the way I want you to. Thank you. But even so, we do need them. And then we will need the steering hovers and the 5-way hovers. We only have one of those, so we need to purchase a couple more of those, but that's fine. And like I said in the R&D mode, we can't have them on the back and on the front, and we also can't use rotors to turn ourselves once we're in the air because a similar problem occurs. The rotors all bind together. This includes the one on the top and everything else, and it will only turn the way it's facing. So this one would always only turn to the right and would always turn that way constantly once we're airborne, which kind of defeats the whole purpose of having one, because then you have to have one the opposite way to cancel that, but you can't shift between them, so not particularly useful. There is a way to use them like that, like I mentioned, but that's a bit of a glitch which tricks the game into thinking you're hovering and not actually flying. That way it keeps the ground controls, and you can use them for turning. But for now, let's try and remain glitch-free, although I feel like I will be using that in the future almost certainly. So, we need a couple more hovers. How much are these? Oh, not too much. Let's grab 4 more. Yeah, there we go. They can go forwards and backwards. So already we have a lot of the basic controls down. It's just a little bit fast on takeoff. I want that to be a bit slower so I can control altitude a little bit easier. It is, however, a bit slow going forwards and backwards, which is a bit of a problem. So that's the very basic stuff we need. Now we just need to make it look better. So let's take all this off and let's figure that out. We could make it look a little bit more spindly with a flight section on top, similar to an actual drone, with this being the body underneath, rather than blending it all together. That might be a better way of doing things. So we can have the... where are you? We can have the gyroscopes down here, in this kind of body section. Then build up a little bit on the top, and have the rotors in a sort of triangle. Okay, so here's the problem. I think I've came up with a good idea for the design, but it's going to be a lot bigger than I originally intended, which means it's not going to look so much like a drone than a flying car, which isn't really the original idea of this whole thing, which is a bit of a shame. So I will continue with this build, but then probably make 2 versions, because that's just how it's going to be. I keep forgetting how fast they've made this missile launcher fire. The avalanche launcher from Venture. Take that, rock. So, right now, we look a bit like a Mars rover with minor flying capabilities and a missile attached. Oh. There's a tank. Let's see if the little flying rover can kill the tank. Oh, that's going to be faster than me. That's it. Just keep on heading towards me. That's fine. Oh. Well, that could have gone better. Why didn't I just fly? You know, this thing can fly, right? That could have totally got out of that mess. Very slowly can fly. Yeah, those missiles, despite being so fast-firing, are nowhere near as good as they used to be. That's it, follow me again, this time into a certain turret. Come on. Why come after me? Attack the big guy instead. He has proper weapons and everything. There we go. Any closer, I think you're about to be attacked. There we are. Ow, not again. Well, he hurt me, but at least he didn't kill me this time. And that's a lot of very expensive stuff. Definitely worth the death and the bit of damage. Well, this is far faster than expected at least, and very, very easy to control. I still don't know though how I'm going to make this look good. Still playing with the idea of having the rotors on the top, but I really want to use these rotors just because I don't use them very often, and I really like how they look, but they don't really suit this type of build. Definitely got the easy to control bit down though, so that's at least good. Let's land on that small tree there. Needs more backwards thrust, definitely. There we go. And once again, these tracks just don't seem to take damage ever. Huzzah for wheel physics. Boing, boing. So less gyroscopes. And one more 5-way, and yeah, that is definitely better. It does swing around a bit more when it's flying, but that does actually help it move forwards a lot faster. And moving backwards is still slow, but it is better. The only reason why it can move forward so quickly is because A, it leans forwards when it's moving, but also we have these two turning thrusters from GSO, which are really, really powerful, and both give left and right and forwards, but no back thrust there. Unless I were to put them on their back, I think I have to put them upside down. I mean, we could just do that, but then we're probably going to lose a lot of forward thrust, but we don't really need that right now. So how about like this? Forward is still fairly quick. Backwards is now much faster. In fact, both of them have kind of balanced out. So I guess maybe that would be the better option. Yeah, that is much easier. Okay. So this is what we're working off then. Still really hate how it looks, but I've always wanted something like this, just a really easy to control air unit, rather than our planes, and not really full-on helicopter mode. The issue is now, we don't have any weapons or shields. Though I can replace this block at least, so that could become a battery. Or a shield. I could replace maybe the back wheel with whichever one isn't in that block. So at least that way it's a bit harder to kill? Question mark? Shield and battery are now both working, so we have at least some very minor protection, but still probably fairly vulnerable. I really think missiles are the only viable option here, although it is so stable in the air, as you can see here, we could quite easily go ahead and add the minigun or something like that instead. It's just a matter of there's not much space to actually place these items, which is definitely the problem. Realistically, we'd want them on the front here, which would make things a lot easier, but as we are, that's not going to happen. You know, this is pretty much exactly how I imagined it functioning. Nice and stable in the air, just able to shoot down the target and then simply go to the next. Not quite as fast as the original version, but I think this would be a little bit better. I've also swapped out the tank tracks for the regular GSO wheels because it's way faster on the ground like that. I did try out using the miniguns, I tried out using the much larger weapon, the autocannon from Hawkeye, and they were just so difficult to use and required so much more micromanagement, it just didn't feel right. Thankfully, with the new weapons coming very soon, we won't be using missiles all that much, so I don't mind using them again right now. Then on the ground, there we go, we're not exactly slow. Although I think the missiles are a bit too low, so moving them up to there would probably be the best bet. Why aren't you firing? No. So the missiles are completely only for when you're in the air, apparently. Well, the little ones seem to work at least, so could just have those. It's slowly becoming something which actually resembles a craft and not just loads of items attached to each other. There we are, let's land, and yeah, it's a trap. Not exactly unexpected. Whoa. The size of the enemies, on the other hand, that was a little bit unexpected. Behold the overpoweredness in Terratech of missiles and flying when combined. Can you just stay there, please? Thank you. Well, at least we're proving we can do missions incredibly easily using this craft. It's a bit of a coward craft, really, isn't it? Which I'm completely fine with. Because no matter how much I use missiles, I just love them. I do wish there was a bit more counterplay with it, similar to games like From the Depths, in which you can build around defending against missiles and such, but until that day comes, I will just be in my little drone here, destroying everything. With almost complete safety. And even if this craft does die, it's still remarkably cheap, so I'm not really losing anything. Really? His cab survived? There we go. Let's just kill this last fellow before we grab that crate. Yeah, this is definitely the easiest craft I've built so far to do missions with. And if we added a couple more missiles, which wouldn't be difficult, it would be even faster to do this. Let's get a little bit lower. How low can I go and still fire? That's what I want to find out. Okay, I can go a little bit lower than expected. How about here? Yeah, that's fine. I could have the missiles on the side again like before. I just think this looks far, far better. Why is this guy so resistant? Die! There we go. Am I faster on land or in the air? Very similar speed, I would say. Very slightly quicker on land, although it might just feel faster since we have the ground underneath us. Boop. Blockbuster. Goodbye. Now it's more balanced. It doesn't tip forwards as much, which is kind of a shame, since that does slow us down, but it does make controlling even easier. Stay about this height, and there we are. Okay, I think that proved why I built this craft, because that was stupidly easy. I mean, I've already built quite a few crafts similar to the flyer and stuff, which all can do things like this easily, but that was just... You don't even have to be awake to do that. Ugly? Yes. Effective? No doubt. Hehe. Boom. Hello there. I don't know what's happened with this mission, but apparently I was meant to be after a crate. I wasn't paying attention since I was talking to myself about hovers. Hello. Now I need to kill you. Since apparently you looted it before us, and all loot is ours. Oh, okay, so that's where the crate is. Would also be helpful if we had the radar attached, got to admit. Hello, little crate. Now, what I was saying to myself before all that happened was, this craft really is fulfilling the same role as the hover we built recently. However, unlike the hover, it can actually fly, and it can land and do stuff like this. That was one of the big problems with the hover. Without using the anchor tool, it simply couldn't get to the ground, which is a pretty big deal. Whereas this one can, so similar role, but this one can escape better and can actually complete missions. So I think the hover's more of just something for fun, and this one is going to be efficient, and that's my excuse for why it looks so darn ugly. Because it's not there to be pretty, it's there for efficiency. Yeah, that makes sense, right? People will believe that, right? I would believe that. That looks weird. Ooh, don't we have the turning versions from Hawkeye, the signal lights? Okay, that'll do. Goodbye, random lights I've just left. So in the air, we average about 60 miles an hour, depending if we're going up or down. And on the ground, very, very similar, but a little bit slower. Okay. Hello, home. There we are. Well, with that, I'm afraid I am all out of time for today's video. I don't think we've really completed this craft, but at least we've proved it as a concept. It's really fun to use, it's ridiculously easy to handle, you can land it pretty much anywhere. It's just going to be good for a number of different missions, including the venture missions, where you have to go through hoops, or you have to land on a specific platform. This is going to be the craft we use, and I'm simply going to call it a drone, because we're calling everything else like that, so we may as well. There we are, a drone, and save. So that's our craft built for today. Now, the next video will be out as soon as the update hits with Terratech, since there are new weapons, and don't worry, we will be doing a lot more than we did in this video. This is more of a, I wasn't even going to record right now, it's my spare time, but I really want to shoot things with missiles. So I hope you have enjoyed, and if you have, then of course, likes, favourites, shares, comments, all that good stuff helps out me, helps out the channel, and most importantly, shows that Terratech is a series you wish to see continued in the future. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. And goodbye from this ugly, ugly thing. But it's our ugly thing, and we love it.